Hi guys, and as usual, welcome to another kit review. So, obviously, today we're having a look at a kit from Tamiya, and it is Tamiya's M8 Howitzer motor carriage. This particular kit came out in 1988, so she is a bit of an oldie. Kit number for this one is 35110. The initial release of this kit came out 1979. That was MM210, and it has been re-released with three additional figures in 2010. Kit number for that one was 35312. But this is the 1988 issue. Basically the same as the 79 issue and also the same as the 2010 issue, apart from 2010 getting a few extra bits and pieces. But overall, exactly the same kit. Now, this kit cost me $28, not including $7 postage, which I thought was quite a bargain for this particular vehicle. Alright, so as you can see, typical Tamiya white box artwork, really nicely done. Does show the M8 to a really nice degree. So I do like the artwork on Tamiya kits. On the side, you'll see the M8, plus also what it was based on, which is your M3 Stuart and your M5 A1. So this chassis on these two vehicles was the same as used for the M8. On the other side, three views of the vehicle, of course, and some of the accessories, the tools that you get with this particular tank. Alright, so being a howitzer, of course, this was used in support of infantry attacks, etc. On the Western Front. Alright, let's have a look and see what I got for my 28. So this particular kit, because it's second-hand, only came with Japanese instructions. That's not going to be a drama. I will, if I have difficulty with this, which I don't think I will download the instructions off ScaleMates. Decal sheet, a bit old I think, and upper hull, lower hull. So as you can see, this is quite a small vehicle, and will fit nicely, that way around I think, will fit nicely on the shelf because it's not going to take up too much space. Alright, so let's see what else is in here. This bag has the turret, the commander figure, turret ring, etc. fittings for the howitzer. It does have quite a nicely detailed interior. Not sure if you can show it there. There's shells and all sorts of fittings and things that go inside, including, of course, the breech for the gun. This is unusual in that the vinyl tracks are actually in the sprue bag, which I don't really like. I just prefer them separate. And of course this is the bag with all the running gear, etc. in it. Alright, so that's what's in the box. In a second I'll get these out. We'll have a look at the instructions and decals first though. So let's have a look at the instructions, and yes, we're going to use the Japanese instructions. It shouldn't make any difference. Of course, on the front you'll have the history of the M8 overleaf. Because this is a 1988 kit, there are no actual Tamiya call-outs for the paints. What you'll see is actual, in the English version I should say, you'll see is it will tell you what color these things are. So let's get started and have a look and see how you put this together. So naturally enough, first thing you do, you put together the running gear, the drive sprockets, the idler wheels, the road wheels, and the suspension units, of course, and that all goes on the side of the lower hull. Then you get to the turret, and it does have seats, shells, etc. You'll notice it does tell you what color to paint them. That's in Japanese, but Easy enough to get, like I said, easy enough to get the English instructions off Scalemates and carry on from there. So really nice detail. As you can tell, for an old Tamiya kit, it does actually have photos of the model itself being constructed and how it's supposed to look. Really nicely detailed breech mechanism, etc. for the Howitzer. Really nicely done. But of course, check your internet references, your modern internet references, I should say, for what color the interior was and the fittings, etc. for this particular vehicle. Spare track links going on the side. That's entirely up to you whether you want to put them on or not. Then you get to the 50 caliber machine gun. More spare track links, etc. Upper hull going on the lower hull. Front going on. Headlights. Tools, etc. going on. And color callouts, of course. Overleaf. You've got a few more tools going on. These are the shells for the interior section. So you do have an interior bay which goes into the lower hull. You do melt the tracks together. That's your commander figure. And then the whole thing gets assembled in one hit in step 13. Overleaf is the painting. US Army olive drab. Straight, easy, one color. So as you can tell, there are a couple of different units on this particular decal sheet. I'll leave it up to you to work that one out if you can speak Japanese. Alright, so that's the instructions. Let's have a look at the actual decals. So they are a little bit old. Not sure if you can see, there's a slight foxing along the edge here, which is the brown spots you get for old paper, etc. But really nicely done. Lots of different number plates for this vehicle. I can see 3 at least on there. So even though this is an 1988 kit, the stars, etc. are still quite white. They haven't gone yellow, which is good. So they may actually still work. Otherwise, it's into the spares box. But I'll give you a shot of this anyway, so you can have a good look at it. So let's have a look at the sprues. And first up, we'll have a look at the tracks. So they've been in storage since 1988, as you can tell by the curve in them. So I will probably soak these in some hot water, not boiling water, hot water, just to try and get the kink out, so they're a little bit more flexible. As you can see, that is what remains of the rubber band that held them together. That's perished completely. All right, so I'll give you a shot of the tracks. So let's have a look at the lower hull. So some quite nice detail. This is the original M5 from Tamiya. You can see that's where the switch went because it says on. And if I turn it around, you'll see inside that's where the batteries went and the switch and everything in there. And I'll see if I can get this in focus for you. I'm not sure if you can see it. You'll see it in the still shots anyway, but it does say M8 inside the battery box. So imagine that little M5 driving around with a little motor in it and batteries going like that. That's where Tamiya began. It was a crossover between toys and models, and a lot of their early kits, like this one, were actually motorized. So that's the lower hull. I'll give some shots of that anyway. So let's have a look at the upper hull. It does have some really nice detail. Really nice grille work on the upper engine deck. And you can tell that this is an M5A1 hull because of that step. M3s, if I remember rightly, that just went straight. M5s had that step on them. So that is an M5A1 hull. Of course, a lot of detail will actually go on the sides, etc. So that's why it's quite plain. But some really nice engine deck detail with the fuel fillers, etc. on it. So I'll give you a shot of that. So the next sprue out we're going to have a look at is this one. So this is the sides of the M8, and it has been in storage for quite a while because I'm not sure if you can see, you can probably see that curve. And it's the same for both sides. They are curved, which is going to be interesting, but they are, whoop, almost lost it. They are still quite flexible. It will be just a matter of clamping it using some ultra thin bit at a time to get this in place, but I don't see a drama with that. So what you've got on here is your headlight protectors, your headlights, lots of little handles, etc. Tools, jack, and your 50 caliber machine gun. So that's a nice little setup. It is quite clean. There isn't much in the way of cleanup required along the mold lines, etc. And I don't see any flash on it, so I'm really happy with that. So I'll give you a shot of this one. But yes, oops, the curve will be an interesting challenge, but nothing we can't beat. All right, so the next sprue out is this one. So this is very dark plastic, so I'm not sure how this is going to come out in the lighting. It is bent right down the middle, but as far as I can tell, nothing critical has actually been bent. It's just down the center section of the sprue, so I think I lucked out on that one. This, of course, is the floor of the turret, commander figure, gun mantlet, sides of the turret. That is your howitzer, breech, and recoil mechanism. Front of the hull, top of the hull, turret ring, etc. And these are shells. So let's have a look at the commander. So standard 1980s, 1970s or earlier Tamiya figure. The detail is there. It is a little bit soft, but with a nice bit of paint job on that, no reason why that couldn't come up looking quite nicely done. There is the gun breech and recoil mechanism. Turret sides, nothing to see on the inside. Everything on the outside, so their spare tracks go along here. This has some really nice checker plate pattern on the interior floor panel. Those are your shell racks for the howitzer. These are more parts for the gun mechanism, turret ring, and upper hull with vision slits on them, and the front. So you do have the option of having the driver's hatch open, except there's nothing to be seen in there, so you might as well close that one up. All right, so, oh, and those are spare track links that go on the side of the turret. So that is the biggest sprue in this kit. And the last sprue is this one. So as you can see, this is your road wheels, idler wheel, and drive sprocket, etc. So I'll turn this around, and as you see, it says MM Stewart. And that's not the name of the tank. It is, well, no, it is the name of the tank, but that's not his personal name. All right, that's not the commander's name. So really nice detail though. So remembering the age of this, Tamiya has still put in all the nice bolt detail. The wheels are quite sharp, and again, not a lot of cleanup required along the mold lines, which I always enjoy. Idler wheels, dry sprockets, really nice bolt detail on that. That's beautiful. So that is the last sprue. So that is your running gear and your suspension units for this particular tank. And that's it, guys. That is Tamiya's M8 Howitzer motor carriage. Kit number 35110. Came out in 1988. A nice little kit. Yes, it has been re-released in 2010 with some extra figures, etc. on it. But overall, the hull and everything is exactly the same as the initial release that came out in 1979, as is this one. I've always wondered, what are these? And to pick one up quite cheap at 28, yeah, that was a bargain. Definitely a bargain. All right, so as I said, that brings us to the end of this review. As usual, I hope you did get something from this review. Thank you for your likes, your comments, and your subscriptions. They are always appreciated. And also, as usual, until next time, guys, take it easy, stay safe, and I will see you later.